series, we talk to successful entrepreneurs who have conquered immeasurable obstacles to live the life of their dreams. These are the Rockstar Entrepreneurs. Long before social networking became a buzzword, Bruce made his mark as a digital pioneer by co-founding Lavalife in 1988. After a spectacular rise, he led the sale of the company for a stunning $180 million. His expertise landed him a spot as a dragon on Dragon's Den, investing in his passion, startup companies. Bruce is now taking his expertise to a new level. He currently helms Round 13, a company dedicated to investing in growth stage digital companies like Sprigg Software and Round Assist. Welcome to this week's Rockstar Entrepreneur Series here at the beautiful Trump Hotel in downtown Toronto. And joining us now is Rockstar Entrepreneur Bruce Croxon. Thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
So tell us a little bit about your journey and what prompted you to become an entrepreneur.
I just always knew that I was destined to do my own thing. Started out with the Globe and Mail paper route when I was 12 and just built different entrepreneurial projects from there.
Speaking of humble beginnings, one of your first projects was tree planting in BC for 2 cents a tree. What did that whole experience teach you about life and money?
It was a very difficult job. I did it for 3 years. The thing I loved about it was you were in total control of your own destiny. In terms of how much you brought home at the end of the day was directly related to how hard you were willing to work. So really, that's an entrepreneur's dream, in many ways, right? The variables weren't huge. You knew what you had to do, but it still was up to you. And it taught me to hang in there, right? Because, sometimes it was the weather, sometimes it was you were on tougher ground than you anticipated. And I think that in many ways epitomizes an entrepreneurial journey.
You're a digital pioneer and you believed in the internet before it even became popular. Tell us a little bit about your success with Lavalife.
I'd like to say that I sat down and had this grand vision, my partners and I, on seeing the world walking arm in arm and everybody coupled up, and that was a driving vision. It wasn't anything like that at all. We were experimenting with a number of different applications on it, and it was the beginning of the time we take for granted now, where the technology told us what people wanted to do. You could measure what people did online. Of all the things they could be using the technology for, dating was one of the more popular uses of it. So we kind of stumbled on it, and as it turned out, dating using technology was one of the killer apps of the 90s and early to mid 2000s.
Now you talk a lot about taking the path of least traveled. Tell us about some of the biggest risks you've taken in your career and how it's led you to where you are today.
It's funny, when everybody else was taking their university degree and applying it right away, I think one of the biggest risks I took, consciously or unconsciously, was to take the first 2 years and travel the world. Really getting an appreciation for how other people lived. And it opened my mind to, I think, be extremely non-judgmental about how people choose to live their lives. So I approach things with a very open mind as a result.
What inspires you? After making millions, what's something that drives you every day?
Keeping the millions. All jokes aside, it is less about the money. It's a bit of a cliche. I take tremendous interest in taking small ideas, identifying them, and helping turn them into medium-sized ideas.
Speaking of challenges, what are some of the biggest challenges you've experienced?
The early struggles are all about how you make it happen when you don't have the depth of experience. So you make a lot of mistakes, you fall in a lot of potholes, and they're too numerous to count. But over time, the knowledge gets accumulated, and you hopefully get a little bit smarter about the choices that you make.
Now, there are so many entrepreneurs out there. What do you think made you different and made you successful?
I think what made me different was I was committed. I had tenacity. There's never any doubt, even in my poorest, darkest early stages, that this is what I was born to do. A friend of mine's fond of saying, basketball analogy, if you hang around the hoop long enough, you will eventually catch a ball.
What's something you look for when you're investing in young entrepreneurs?
Tenacity. It's a lot easier to fold, right? And go get a job somewhere and keep running into the wall, right? So I'm looking for people that don't mind running into the wall, but are smart enough to run into it a little bit different every time.
Interesting. What's the legacy you want to leave? Like, what do you want people to remember about you?
Well, I mean, there's so many dimensions to that question, right? I've got 2 kids, so I would like to be first and foremost remembered as someone that took the responsibilities of raising a couple of kids seriously. I'd like to be remembered as somebody that in business treated people fairly, was a good partner. When I said I was going to deliver something, I did it.
Yeah.
And I treated everybody the right way.
And last but not least, if you could look into the camera and inspire one person watching, an entrepreneur that wants to give up, is at the end of its road, what would you say to them?
What I would say to those of you that are grinding out there, you think you're on your last legs, when you become successful, don't get too attached to that feeling, because however high you're flying, it ain't gonna last. Similarly though, and I hope you take inspiration from this, when you're down in the depths and you don't think you can go any lower, hang in there, because that's not gonna last either. This is all about cycles, right? This is all about coming off the lows, not getting too attached to the highs, and somewhere in there making progress. 51% of the time you're pushing the noodle ahead, 49% of the time, sorry to tell you, you're going to be taking it in the teeth, but that is a net too, and if you can do that every month, that's a successful business.
The Rockstar Entrepreneur Series is in partnership with Trump Toronto.